Madam President, this morning, thanks to Republicans, we're less than 48 hours away from a Christmas shutdown. Unfortunately, it seems Republicans are in shambles over in the House. But as they try to piece things together, they should remember one thing. The only way to get things done is through bipartisanship. The only way. Let me repeat. The only way to get things done is through bipartisanship. Now, on the Sergeant at Arms. Today, it fills me with immense gratitude to pay tribute and say thank you to the Senate Sergeant at Arms, General Karen Gibson, sitting right here. None of us, no matter what we do, could get through the day without the individual responsible for maintaining order, enforcing security, and keeping everyone in the Senate safe. That's what the Sergeant at Arms does. General Gibson took on this role in March of 2021 in the painful aftermath of the January 6th insurrection. By no means did she need to take this job. It was the Senate that needed her. We needed her 3 decades of leadership as an Army intelligence officer. We needed her steady hand and ability to change how organizations function. And to this day, I thank God she answered my phone call. General Gibson helped us get through those difficult months after January 6th. She was a breath of fresh air, a boost of morale, a jolt of much-needed confidence. She transforms how the Sergeant at Arms operates for the better. Under General Gibson's watch, her team revitalized how the Senate approaches security and safety from the top to the bottom. She increased how we share intelligence, communications, and planning with the rest of the federal government and state and local partners. She transformed the way the Senate handles moments of crisis. There is now a single Senate Operations Center that stands watch at all times and alerts us to potential threats or disruptions in real time. She was a godsend for other Senate staff across the Capitol complex, introducing new emergency preparedness applications, new training, new protocols staff could adopt to keep their offices safe and prepared. Finally, she revolutionized how the Senate approaches cybersecurity, conducting the most comprehensive cybersecurity assessment ever. And every step of the way, she had a first-rate team by her side to help execute her vision. And one other thing, a bit intangible. The morale of our Capitol Police Force has dramatically improved after the horrible days of January 6th. And much of that goes to what General Gibson did. She made them feel needed and confident and loved and well-trained and prepared. And I can tell just from speaking to so many Capitol Police officers how much they appreciated her tenure and her caring. So I am forever grateful to General Gibson for her 4 terms as our Sergeant at Arms. The Senate today is far more secure and far more prepared than the day she entered the role. My congratulations to her on a job well done. And the Senate thanks her, all of us, Democrat and Republican, for many years of service. Ann Berry. I also want to say thank you to our wonderful Secretary of the Senate, Ann Berry. Of the many talented and exceptional Senate officers I have the privilege of nominating as Majority Leader, Ann is one of the very best. The job of Secretary of the Senate is one of the utmost important and indispensable jobs here in the Senate. In fact, just days after the Senate achieved its first quorum in 1789, one of its top priorities was to elect the very first Secretary of the Senate. Back then, the Senate's responsibilities were merely a fraction of what they are today. There's virtually nothing that happens in the Senate these days, legislatively, financially, administratively, that doesn't cross the Secretary's desk. So to hold such an extraordinary position that brings life to the Senate, you need an extraordinary human being who brings life to the job. Where is she? She's probably just so busy doing her job, she's not here. But anyway, that is Ann Berry to a T. From the moment Ann was sworn in, she's carried out her responsibilities as Secretary with unparalleled excellence, supreme professionalism, And she did it while making history as the first ever black woman to serve as Secretary of the Senate. Of course, Anne's success as Secretary comes as little surprise to anyone who knows her background. She's a veteran of some of the most revered senators to pass through the chamber, the likes of Senator Leahy, Edwards, Carper, Jones, and my mentor, Senator Moynihan. For the last nearly 4 years, Anne has been one of the most invaluable members of the entire Senate operation. She made our days easier, our operations smoother, and made the Senate work better for the American people. And that, Madam President, is perhaps the highest testament to a public servant. So, Anne, on behalf of a grateful Senate, a grateful Democratic caucus, and a grateful Majority Leader, we say congratulations. Thank you. Job well done. Now to Dan Yoken, who I will so dearly miss. Is he here somewhere? Where's Dan? Well, Dan Yoken. Socrates said, "The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance." If that's true, and I think Socrates was onto something, then this is going to be a particularly difficult goodbye for me to get through. Because today, it fills me with immense gratitude, but also deep sadness to bid farewell and thank you to one of the most knowledgeable and trusted members of my team, Dan Yoken. Officially, Dan has served as my Director of Rapid Response the entire time I've served in the leadership, but in truth, he is far more than that. He is, in a word, the brain, the knowledge base of our messaging and research operation. He's the truth keeper, the fact sleuth, the go-to person when our team needs something figured out right away. But what sets Dan apart is that he also sees the big picture. He's not just looking at the little details. Anyone who excels at these things by necessity must possess a love of details, and Dan certainly does that. But what makes him so effective is how fluidly, how effortlessly, how naturally he connects the details to the main thrust of what our team tries to do every day and to the larger picture of where we're headed as a caucus and as a country. And Dan is also a craftsman. There's no speech, no press release, no tweet, no video that doesn't pass through his careful touch. A native of Nevada, Dan came to the Senate and earned his stripe as a young press assistant for the former leader, Harry Reid, who we miss every day. Every single day it was Dan's job to wake up early, read all of the news, and then brief Senator Reid personally on what was going on that day. If Senator Reid had a question, it was Dan's job to answer. If there was a specific detail he wanted, it was Dan's job to remember it. For most people right out of school, that would pretty much be a baptism by fire. But for Dan, it was confirmation, early confirmation, that he belonged here in the Senate. In no time, he became Leader Reid's Deputy Communications Director and then joined my team as the Research Director of the DPCC. And when I became leader, there was never a moment of doubt that I wanted Dan to come with me. Running our messaging operation is not easy. It's a round-the-clock task, 7-day-a-week commitment. I'd call him at all hours to ask him about this or that. It's stressful, ever-changing, thankless, and on top of that, they have to deal with me. Not so easy sometimes. But every day my team succeeds, and I succeed, because Dan has always been there as a steady and stabilizing force. His knowledge of the Senate, its history, its members, its operation, gives our work shape and form. All this is possible because deep down Dan loves this institution and loves this great democracy. Of course, anyone who knows Dan understands he loves many other good things as well. Just ask him, for example, about the Las Vegas Golden Knights and that time that they came to the White House to celebrate their championship. Or ask him about the last Roots concert he went to. Or ask him about poker night. Or about the next time he's planning to organize a Schumerland outing to Audi Field. Ask him, certainly about his wonderful family, his beautiful redhead 2-year-old, his wife and his partner for so many years as well. And then ask him about their dog, Daisy, who's a regular here in the Senate on Friday, every Friday. Ask him about any of these things, and you'll see Dan for who he is. Someone who leads a rich life, someone who has a gifted mind, and someone who is loyal, kind, thoughtful to all those he comes across. Having him on my team for so long has been a blessing. to our office, to the Senate, to the country. So Dan, wherever you are, he's probably working as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know how much we will miss you. You know how much we love you. You know how much you will always be part of our Schumer family. And we can't wait to see what the future holds in store for you. I yield the floor. I don't note anything. I yield the floor to the Republican leader.